Hello, I'm Irina Baker, an awareness mentor, and welcome to my video series 11 Obstacles to a Highly Satisfying Life. Last time we were talking about ignoring your highest potential and what happens, what feeling you get when you ignore your biggest dreams. And this time we are going to focus on holding onto your low self-value because that's a major impediment to highly satisfying life. Let me tell you a story. Well, many years ago, when I was visiting Russia, I've met with a 10-year-old boy. And I was absolutely shocked by my experience because that boy was nothing like normal children. And let me tell you why. Uh, First of all, at that time in Russia, and I have no idea what they have now, but at that time, we did not have any Sunday schools that would teach people about God or religion. So that child definitely didn't go to any school for that matter, or Sunday school or any religious school. He didn't read any metaphysical books, but he was started telling me about his beliefs, and I was absolutely shocked. First of all, he told me that he serves God, and God is just and kind. And he also told me that God is light, and that light is inside of the boy. Imagine that boy was 10 years old at that time. And when I asked where he learned that information, he told me that one day he was returning back home from school. He was walking, the school was next to the house, and suddenly he got a headache. After the headache was gone, suddenly he became aware of his many past lives, and metaphysical information started coming into his head as downloads, and he remembered his purpose in life. And he told me that he couldn't talk to other kids in school because obviously they couldn't understand him and they wouldn't even believe him. But he could talk to me because I was eager to hear. And I was there for him, as according to his words, to confirm his beliefs and to help him with the next step in his spiritual development. It was unbelievable to hear that a little boy talking about these metaphysical terms. And those terms actually, I read in many books or while living in America, and I pondered the spiritual issues myself. So I knew these terms and I knew this language, metaphysical language, from developing myself spiritually here in America. And here I was sitting in Russia next to this 10-year-old boy who was operating easily with the same terms. He didn't read the books, as I said. He didn't get any education, including about God or anything like that. And he was easily operating with these metaphysical terms. And he actually was very happy to find an adult who would take him seriously, his beliefs, because he couldn't share his beliefs with parents, with his parents, and anybody else. So I was there, a miracle for him, and he was a miracle for me. And many years later, right now, I remember that encounter as vividly as it was just right now. And he also, the boy used to, interesting fact, the boy lived in the building number 11, and I used to, when I was in Russia, I lived in building number 9. So that's how we met. We were in the same sort of yard because there were two buildings standing next to each other, and children would play, and I was passing by and we started talking. And but the interesting fact is my apartment number was number 43 at that time, and his apartment number was 43. So that was an interesting quote unquote coincidence, which I don't believe in coincidences, and I'm sure you don't either. So that was interesting. Two buildings standing next to each other, 43, 43, and two different generations. He's 10 years old. I was by that time already much older. And we lived in two different worlds. He lived in Russia, I lived in America, and two other sides of the earth talking about the same thing. It was amazing. And so the boy told me that one day in the future, he will inherit the throne because he's of a royal origin of life. That was amazing. That what shocked me because these were exact words that I knew about and I was operating with. He will inherit the throne because he's of a royal origin of life. I wanted to repeat that. And that's, and so I want to ask you right now, how do you define home? Because he was talking about returning home. I have it somewhere, a card even to show you. He was talking about returning home and inheriting the throne. And what does it mean, returning home? Why is a 10-year-old boy is talking about returning home? He was living at home with his parents, and why would he say that? So how would you define an ideal home? To me, the home is, so how would you define an ideal home? So to me, a home feels secure, cozy, comfortable, where you relax, you unwind after a busy day, and it's your castle. It's your place where you really in a most comfortable place, or at least it should be. I'm talking about the ideal home. And you're surrounded by the loving family. You are loved, and you love also. You are sure about tomorrow. All your bills are paid. You are very relieved. You're very relaxed and serene, and you know that life will provide for you. You are absolutely secure and abundant. You feel that feeling of abundance and wealth, and you're surrounded by opulence and abundance. And you know that you have your dream and you have no fear whatsoever in taking it in and fulfilling it, going after your soul mission, and going after your, or by going after your greatness. And you are also healthy and happy and joyful. So this is the definition of my ideal home. How about you? I encourage you to think about it. After I finish this teaching segment, I would encourage you to define your home, because that's important. And where would that be, this ideal home that the boy was talking about and I have just defined? Do you know any ideal home like that, that doesn't have any problems whatsoever? Historically, I can only name one ideal home, and that's the home Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve lived happily, so to speak, ever after, or before the famous or infamous Apple Day. And so these two people, Adam and Eve, were, according to the legend, they were children of God. And therefore, they were made out of God's likeness, image and likeness, right? You remember this saying, made in image and likeness of God, which is important. And so therefore, God is the highest entity, the highest power in the universe. Therefore, Adam and Eve were a prince and a princess. So we're talking right now about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And they didn't know any nasty things that we know about, such as uh, poverty, starvation, surviving, victimization, abuse, all these things that happen in our world and we witness or experience or wherever we are in relation to those things. But Adam and Eve, obviously, at the beginning in the Garden of Eden, did not experience. They were home, and that was home of light. They lived in the light. That was just a metaphor. The Garden of Eden is our home, the metaphor for the kingdom of light. And they were also in perfect health. They were perfectly supplied with everything, so they were never in need. They were never in any want whatsoever. And they absolutely knew about their true origin. They knew that they are of true origin of light, and that is royal origin of light. So they did not need to think or to learn about self-esteem at that time, nothing like that. And so this video would not happen in the Garden of Eden, but it's happening here right now. And so they were very happy and very content, like I said before, up to one particular day. That was the famous apple day, when Eve supposedly ate the apple or bit of the apple, and things started changing. And what happened was, according to the religious beliefs, major religions of the world tell us the story that once Eve partook of apple, she, or actually they became, that was the origin of this sin, the first original sin. So that's how humans became sinful according to the religion beliefs. However, I believe that it wasn't that they became sinful, but they didn't fall out of grace of God, how religions portray it, as in my understanding, but they actually fell out in the energy vibration from the the highest energy vibration of love and light. They fell into the energy of darkness, the energy represented by the serpent, the proverbial serpent. And what that means is they didn't have to go anywhere. Nobody kicked them out of the Garden of Eden per se. However, that was the divine grand plan, because God had a plan. And I'm sure you've heard this many times about God's plan. Nobody knows what it is, but everybody's talking about God's plan. So divine grand plan. And actually, it was the story of the divine grand plan depicting the fall in the low energy, into the low energy frequency. And that's where the journey into the darkness began. So first it was light, and then Adam and Eve found themselves in the realm of the darkness, where the serpent ruled, so to speak. And they actually accepted. That was voluntary, that nobody kicked them. It was accepting. They accepted the invitation, and it was all a part of the plan. So it was much needed for the sake of the whole, because by experiencing the darkness, they would learn so much that they would benefit the whole universe or whole eternity, whatever that, the bigger than the universe place is, they would benefit God. And they needed to go through that, and they agreed to that. And so in order to know about the power, because God is power, right? And so Adam and Eve had to learn about powerlessness. In order to learn about responsibility, they had to learn about being irresponsible. And in order to learn about true unconditional love, they had to experience the very depth of the fear, because the opposite side, people say hate, but it's actually fear. Love and fear, two opposite sides of the medal. And so this is how it goes. This is the plan in several variations. First of all, First of all, I'm looking at the card here to show you, and it's actually from love into fear, from fear away from fear, that's the next stage, and then back into love. This is returning home. This is where we are all heading. This is our journey from love to fear, away from fear to love. And so during those places where fear rules and away from fear, it's the transitional stage into love again. This is where low self-value is. This is where humans believe that they are nobodies. This is where our low self-esteem or low self-value has originated in the kingdom of darkness. Therefore, low self-value does not start with the birth of the baby. It doesn't start with traumas. Let's say the child was abused and then low self-esteem occurred. No, it's not true, because that low self-esteem has originated a long time ago, and this life is just one of many where human goes through low self-esteem with the purpose of finding the true self, the origin of light, and moving out, meaning out of the darkness, increasing that self-value, and finally finding the royal origin that we all possess. We all are. We are made in God's image and likeness, and therefore we are royalty inside, but that's the royalty of light, the highest vibration. So another way to say it is high self-value into low self-value. Now we're in transition to increasing self-value because we are moving into high self-value again. This is again returning home. This was the Garden of Eden. This was the darkness, the period of the darkness. This is our life now when we're working on increasing our self-value, and then high self-value is home. And then another way to say the same thing is from feeling, because where you feel love, you cannot think love, you have to feel love because it's a feeling. And then you go to thinking. A lot of many centuries we were operating as big heads, talking heads and thinking heads. So it was thinking only, feelings were suppressed, as you perfectly know. And now in this lifetime we're working on away from just thinking. We do not want to suppress feelings anymore, and so we are returning back to thinking and feeling in harmony and balance, and which is thinking is the ego and feeling is the soul. Together ego and the soul create the feeling of completeness, the feeling of satisfaction, happiness, abundance, and return home. Garden of Eden is now coming back to earth to every single individual who chooses to do it. But first, we have to finish our journey into darkness and move it back into the light. And so now, enough of stories, enough of legends, and now let's talk about it in pragmatic way. So my question to you is, the question to you is, what do you think? Money is material. Self-value usually reflects in all areas of our life, and money is always there because God provides. But do we really have it actually? Even though God provides, why does it happen that a lot of people feel it's never enough? And so my question to you will be, what do you think? If you do what you love, money will follow. So if you do what you love, money will follow. What about that? Do you think it's true? Do you think it's true? Do what you love and money will follow. Do you think it's false? Do what you love and money will follow. Please consider answering, because you will find out your own beliefs about this important question. And I really want you to pay attention to this awareness aspect, because this is what I'm about, bringing awareness about spiritual matters. And so, or you are not sure, I am not sure about do what you love and money will follow. I am not sure if it's true or not. So pick your answer right now, and we will continue go. So do what you love and money will follow. What is your answer? And now I will tell you what I think, because I will explain something to you right now. So I believe it's true. However, how about a starving artist cliche? How about people who do what they love? We know in history a lot of artists made that name for themselves as starving artists because they didn't they didn't they could not pay their bills. They hardly survived, even though they were doing what they really loved, painting, and they were very good at that. So what was the problem? And why, if money, do what you love and money will follow, then why so many people hate their jobs? So many people, but they are afraid to quit their jobs that they really hate, to in order to follow their dreams and really do what they love, because they don't believe that money will follow. They're not sure. They don't think money will follow. Otherwise, a lot of people would quit their jobs by now, and it didn't happen. And the answer to this question is, so I believe, yes, do what you love and money will follow. However, there is a catch. And the catch is, nobody is home if you do not experience the money that is all your divine right, that is all yours by divine right, then nobody is home to receive this money. In other words, we have to be fully present in our physical human body in order to manifest, in order to bring spiritual energy of money, which is provided by God, that spiritual energy of money into the human physical reality. And human physical reality is manifestation of the energy. And so money is material because money is energy that is transmuted into or manifested into the physical and becomes paper, becomes coins or checks or whatever form it is, um, account in a bank. And by that, we start exchanging the energy. And so the aspect, the material aspect of the money here on the physical is very important because we have to have it in the physical. It's very nice to talk about money is spiritual and money is good, but where is the money in your personal life? And so the money will reflect the self-value. If you consider yourself nobody, and I'm not talking about here, because here everybody thinks we're good, we are, educated and experienced and work hard, and we deserve the money. However, there is a subconscious mind, and I always talk about the subconscious mind that thinks very differently. So deep inside, because of that garden, the Garden of the Eden story, and I told you that was the journey. We have inherited our low self-esteem. That was divine game, divine grand plan, and it was supposed to happen. And so now we are encouraged and we are actually pushed now by the universe to really find our true royal origin, to increase our self-value, because enough of struggling, enough of surviving, enough of all these difficulties in the physical world with making money. Because look at your surroundings, look at your life, how many people struggle with money, how many people cannot make enough, or they never feel they have enough. And that's because of that inherent feeling inside that I have low self-value. It is self-assigned because of our dark experiences, traumas, and pain from other lifetimes, other experiences that we all have brought into this lifetime. And so it's very easy to discover where in your life in what area is you experience low self-value. Is it your health? Because if you have problem with health, the level of your health is the level of your health is based on how you take care of your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. And your well-being is the reflection of the internal self-value that you hold yourself at. So it's your value that you assign to yourself long time ago, not in this lifetime, and it still is operating in your subconscious mind, creating your life experiences. And if it's finances, because if you have problems with money, so your financial side of life is is reflecting your low self-value. The amount of money you bring on you make is based on the value you provide to the world, because we all strive to serve, and we have to make a living. At least most of us have to make a living, and that's the self-value, how much money you're making, how much value you're providing. And that value reflects your internal self-value. Whatever you believe about yourself in terms of your self-value will be shown in your life. And then another one, relationships, the same thing. Your relationship is based on the value you bring on the table in the relationships. And this value is a reflection of your internal value. So how you, as I'm sure you understand that, how you treat yourself inside, how you value yourself inside, this is how other people will treat you, and this is how other people will value you. And how about business and career? If you are at the job you hate, if you are in the business that it's not growing very well, what does it tell you about your self-value? The same way. So these are the areas of life that you need to ponder, because every area of your life can show you how high your self-value is. Think about it. If you are a very wealthy person, and in your subconscious mind you really know who you are in terms of, definitely when you have a lot of money, people will treat you very nicely. Why? Because you will be walking into the room with straight back, knowing that you deserve it. It's not here, you're not thinking about it, but it's embodied. You are in the body to receive that material opulence, the wealth. And wealthy people don't even think about it. They have rich consciousness. So, and other people who don't have enough of rich consciousness, they're not in the body, they're not receiving fully what is due to them. And so if you find this valuable, and I hope that you really consider this information, because it's time for us to stop struggling, to stop surviving, to stop all this stuff that is making our lives miserable, making our lives not or less attractive, and doesn't create joy. And so now it's time to really increase that self-value. Darkness times are over. It's time to move into the kingdom of light and return into the Garden of Eden. But this time, the garden is brought into the physical reality. So every single person has the right and opportunity in this lifetime to bring into this reality, into their personal reality, the Garden of Eden, which is amazing. And if you would like to stay in touch with me and really learn more, go to Gift from Irina, and I have it on my screen as well. Gift from Irina, and spell please IRINA, my name. You will find there 5 principles that you absolutely must use to find the best solution to any situation. And these 5 mantras, I call them mantras because I use them almost daily in any situation, because they help me find spiritual solution to any situation, physical situation, and that's how every situation is resolved. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this information, and I see you next time. Have a great day. Goodbye.